When did you realize, hey, this is a problem?
When he started talking, he sounded like he was slurring. So he either was extremely fatigued or he was medicated. I sensed the latter, and but that was part of these issues. He was not. Shawn was in a very dark place at that point in time in his life for whatever reason, and there's probably plenty of good reasons. But the bottom line was he was not conducting himself as he does today, and he needed to change to something. Obviously, a better lifestyle would have been one thing, but I don't know. I felt bad for him. I love this kid. I went down to San Antonio and talking to come back into business after he'd been gone 4 years. It took him 4 years to get over his issues. Basically, bad back, medicines, maybe some booze, attitude, big time attitude issues, personal life. But it was just sad to see where he was headed, because if he had not, and look, you got to give McMahon credit too. Shawn's making $750,000 a year. Now you do that, divide that by 52, and you get how much he's making a week. It's pretty good money. He got that check every week, every day, every week of every year that he was under contract, and while he was sitting at home in San Antonio. Didn't have to happen, but that's how Vince did it. And Vince always had a soft spot for Shawn because he saw Shawn's rebellious, anti-establishment attitude as reminiscent of a young Vince, and now he had to navigate the waters of the old WWF when his dad owned it. And so I think there's something to be said about that. So Shawn was he was really going down a real bad road, and luckily changed his direction before it got too late.
Let's before we get down the rabbit hole of what happened next, I guess we should talk about the climate in wrestling at the time, because it does feel like you guys start to get a little bit more attention in the mainstream media. The Baltimore Sun, for example, is talking about how, since the WWF is playing catch up ball, it feels like they're countering with sex, violence, crude language, and blood. Would you disagree with that?
Well, I wouldn't totally disagree with it because it's not totally untrue. The choice of, violence is controlled violence. So I don't know. It's not the traditional violence. Those are Kevin Eck. I actually went to work for WWE not too, after that, and the creative side. And he does a lot of work now for Danny McDevitt in Maryland Championship Wrestling. Smart guy. But the language is always, some of that language that you use in describing it, crude language. Okay. This part was crude. Blood is not new. But yeah, we went to some extremes. We got a little bit, we got more physical with boys, started working a little bit more intense. It was a good physical style. And sometimes you have, broken noses and things of that nature that come along. But no, I don't think Kevin's totally wrong on that. I might not use the same words, but the bottom line is they meant the same. So yeah, he's pretty much spot on.
Let's keep it moving here and talk about Michinoku Pro Wrestling. You guys are trying to work a deal out here. According to the Observer, he's saying there's nothing new on the relations with AAA. It looks like you guys had a pretty successful event at Royal Rumble, but now maybe it doesn't feel like there's going to be anything progress there. Talk to us a little bit about the relationship with Michinoku Pro and AAA and how all of a sudden those became a thing where for years and years, it almost felt like the WWF ignored everybody.
Well, we had to start rethinking everything, Conrad, and that's, sometimes in any business, you have to just step back and reevaluate, hit the reset button to some degree in some areas of what you're doing. We believe that our brand was going to be very global. We wanted to get more diversity on it. We wanted to do some more work and develop a junior heavyweight, light heavyweight, whatever, cruiserweight, whatever word you want to give it, division. And we knew that there are a lot of really good young talents out there that were not giants that we could be very entertaining on our television programming. So and Victor Quinones who was real close to Gorilla Monsoon back in the day in Puerto Rico and so forth. Victor was our liaison between AAA and Michinoku Pro. So that's when we brought in Kai and Ty, those four fellas. Hell, and I'm trying to think of his name. I see it's Shofunaki hasn't left yet. He's still here in the States. I think he's got to be a citizen by now, for God's sakes. I know he's a big Dallas, and he's a Green Bay Packer fan. You can see that on Facebook. So those guys, just depth. We got some new talents, could do some new things with them. And of course, in our stupid society, because everybody certainly vividly remembers December 7th, 1941, all the Asians were or villains in that era. It's kind of hilarious when you start to think about it. Sad hilarity. But nonetheless, that's why we got it. We're going to expand our roster, add some Japanese element, get some guys that have a little different style, and Victor brokered that deal. So we brought those four cats in, and one of the best names of all, one of the best wrestling names ever, Dick to Go. Dick Togo. Dick to Go.
Let's talk a little bit about your good friend, Paul Bear.
Mm-hmm.
He's no longer with us, but May 17th, he is featured in his hometown newspaper, the Mobile Register, and they're putting him over huge. And talking a little bit about his background in wrestling. I don't know that we have spent enough time in wrestling really talking about who Paul Bear really was. Before we just sort of keep it moving here, I just wanted to give you a minute to sort of talk about the man behind the character.
Big George Jones fan, biggest George Jones fan in the world. On one of the big ribs one time, was somebody might have been Owen, went to him and said that he just heard that George Jones had been killed in a car wreck, and he didn't realize how serious that information was to Paul Bear. It was devastating, and so the rib really blew up in the wrong way, and Owen had to apologize, and only kidding, and I don't know if Paul Bear ever forgave him to give him that rib about George Jones. He was a real mortician. He was an Air Force veteran, United States Air Force. He was not always 300 pounds. He did some wrestling. He did some managing, and he was a regular on the weekly shows there in Mobile, in that old territory. He worked a lot in Dallas for Fred Swanth of the Von Erichs. He worked for my friend Dennis Brent for sometimes, and Dennis's company as well. Just a really good dude, man. He is a great historian, dearly loved the business, and getting to play that mortician, which he really was, with Undertaker, was a match made in heaven. It really was. He was just a super guy, and I remember I paid for my budget. I didn't pay for, you know what I mean, out of my budget for that gastric surgery to help him lose weight, because he was going to wasn't going to be a long life, and I think we extended his life, but not long enough. Obviously, he left us too early. But we did the surgery, the lap band thing, or whatever the hell it was. I don't remember exactly the name of the procedure, but to help him lose some weight, it kind of resurrected his career a little bit, because he had gotten so heavy. His health was just going to hell, and but a sweetheart of a guy, Conrad, really good guy, a credit to the business without a doubt.